School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoSchool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. 08779.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Hi, this is Brian Carpenter from One Worcester Homes. We're excited to offer the strongest buyer and seller representation throughout Worcester County and all the surrounding areas. Our agents are trained better and will look out for your best interests throughout the entire transaction. To reach out to One Worcester Homes, simply find us on Facebook, type in One Worcester Homes. We look forward to the opportunity to help you and your family in your home buying or selling transaction. And don't forget to join us the 4th Saturday of every month at 7:30 on Handling Change.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system, and get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com, and like me, you'll be glad you did.
The following is a paid program and is a Cameo Media production. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of this station, Cameo Media, the host, or guests. Inquiries and input may be directed to cameomedia.net. Email at info@cameo@gmail.com or 508-556-4411. Cameo Media now presents Faith in America, the crossroads of faith and society. Good morning and welcome to the debut show of Faith in America. I'm Joe Mangiacotti from Cameo Media, and typically you're expecting me to come on today with the Joe Mangiacotti Show. For the next 2 hours, it will be the second hour today. The first hour today, we debut Faith in America with Reverend Peter Preble. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, and blessings and peace to you, and welcome to the debut show of Faith in America.
Well, thank you. Why don't you take it away? And I think the first thing, let everybody know what we're in for.
That's kind of a loaded.
Maybe I should rephrase that. What can we expect from Faith in America?
Better. So, as you've heard, and we've talked about, we're hoping to host discussions at the crossroads of faith and society, and I'll be your guide on this journey through these. We have a great show prepared today. I have a very dear friend of mine, Father Joseph Grybowski, who'll be joining me in a bit, and we're going to talk about restoring civility to dialogue, debate, and conversation. And in the second half of the show, we're going to talk about Lent. We're in the season of Lent, which started last Wednesday, so we're going to have a discussion about Lent and what we could do during this important season to mark this time of the year. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't wish a very happy birthday to my father-in-law, Joe. So have a great day, and
happy birthday, Joe.
I'm going to see you in a couple of hours, Joe. So I hope you're listening. I hope you get up early enough to listen. But let's talk about social media and how you can stay in contact. This is live today, but this is kind of an anomaly in how this is going to run. We had some technical difficulties, I guess you could say, that caused us to do the show live this week, but it's mostly going to be recorded. So the conversation is going to continue in the social media platform. So there's several. You can reach me on Facebook at facebook.com/faithinAmericaRadio. You can go over there, and we're going to start to have some conversations after the show and during the week. We're on Twitter, twitter.com/faithinradio. It's a little bit different than the Facebook one, but so it's Faith in Radio. And then on the World Wide Web at peterpreble.net, that's with one B, peterpreble.net/radio. And over there you can find out how to support the show. You can contact me through there via email, and we can get things rolling over there. But as my plan is for each of these programs, we're going to start with a little commentary on what we're coming up, what we should expect. So I recently came across this profound saying, and this is what it said. by being taught to avoid talking about politics and religion has led to a misunderstanding of politics and religion. What we should have been taught was how to have civil conversations about difficult topics. By not having these conversations, we've forgotten how to have civil conversations about difficult topics. There was a time in the not-so-distant past when a conversation could be had about an issue and it would remain on the issue. Sure, it might get heated and maybe tempers would flare a bit, but the conversation or debate usually stayed on track. It was thought disrespectful or uncouth, if you will, to make the debate personal. Now, I don't mean not talking about yourself and how the issue affects you or how it affects you on a personal level. I mean attacking the speaker on a personal level to try to discredit them, but not discredit them on the facts or the issue or the weakness of their argument, but attacking the speaker to discredit them personally. Debate used to be won and lost based on facts of the argument and not the personality of the speaker. Well, it seems today that if we can't defend our position, or worse, have no interest in defending our position, we go into the attack mode personally. Recently, this happened to me. I was discussing an issue, and the person on the other side obviously did not like something I said, so they went on the attack. They attacked my profession and me as a person, but did not try in the slightest to defeat my position with facts, just personal attacks. Now, people on both sides of the theological and political spectrum are guilty of this. It's certainly not a one-sided or a one-party issue. We need to get back to the time when we simply focused on the position, the facts of the argument, and not the person taking a certain position. The other part of this is the misguided notion that we can agree to disagree. I will admit that some issues this can be the case, but not every position is valid or equal. For example, there are not two sides to racism, white supremacy, or white nationalism. There are not good people on both sides. There's only one side to these issues. I will not buy into the fallacy that because we have freedom of speech in America, the speech everyone is making is valid. I'm not willing to surrender the moral high ground on issues, whatever the issue might be. Agreeing to disagree is not a solution. Walking away or not engaging is a solution, but agreeing to disagree is not. So, who is the arbiter of all this? I am. You are. Society is. Society determines what is acceptable and what is not. And society has determined that there simply is no room for some opinions. You have every right to hold your opinion, and I have every right to disagree with you. But by the way, if I disagree with you, if I fight against everything you stand for, I'm not oppressing you, I'm just disagreeing with you, and the oppression argument is a weak response. The final point in all of this is learning how to listen. Sure, we listen to each other, but are we hearing them? And there's a difference between listening and hearing. Most of the time, and I'm as guilty as this as anyone, we're only listening to find a spot where we can jump in and push our point. Active listening is a technique that is used in counseling, training, and solving disputes or conflicts. It requires that the listener fully concentrate, understand, respond, and then remember what is being said. Active and attentive listening requires that we not only hear what the other person is saying, but that we listen to them. Really listen to them with an openness and understanding and learning. You cannot force someone to comprehend a message they're not ready to receive, but still, you must never underestimate the power of planting the seed. Now, that's what I hope to do here on Faith in America, is plant seeds. Give us a little bit of space to have conversations, and get us to all think a little bit more about things, grow a little, and yes, make this world, or this part of it anyway, a kinder, gentler place to be. We may not always agree, and most of the time I'm sure we'll disagree, and that's okay. But if we do, I hope we disagree with dignity and with respect, because that's what we're trying to do here, is restore a little bit of this dignity and respect. And that's my commentary for this morning.
Fantastic. Great points, by the way.
Thank you.
I love the idea that it's not you're not oppressing somebody if you don't agree with everything. And it seems today, Peter, that so many people take things so personally. If you don't agree, you need to jump on their bandwagon,
right,
and go 100%. And if they're hating on somebody and you don't hate on that person, then you become what it is that they hate about the person that they're hating in the first place.
Right.
I don't know if you just followed that string of thought there, but that's happened to me consistently. It seems like lately that there's that. You've got to, we're a puppy hating club, and you need to hate puppies too.
Right. And all it does is if we if we keep getting further in the mud, if we keep getting further down in the puddle, all we're going to do is we're all going to get dirty, right?
Absolutely.
So someone needs to say, enough is enough. We're going to rise above this, and we're going to get to a point where it's just, this is what we do, and it's the best we can do.
That's it. All right, folks, you're listening to the debut show of Faith in America with your host, Reverend Peter Preble. I'm Joe Mangiacotti from Cameo Media in the Joe Mangiacotti Show, which will pick up at 8 o'clock, 7 to 8 o'clock this morning, so stay tuned for that. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is Sean Burke, president of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 for case files from the LPDM or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
Here comes the Evans family into the church.
They're wearing matching designer suits.
Oh, yes, very nice.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and now here's Mrs. Walsh down the aisle and into her pew.
With Italian leather boots clutching a beautiful suede bag.
Just lovely.
Fabulous.
Oh, wait. Look at the Smiths. Ugh, no.
Look at those outfits. Oh, what a faux pas.
Oh, they are so last year.
Please, send them back to the yard sale.
Oh, yes.
God doesn't care what you wear to church. Neither do we. The United Church of Christ. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. The United Church of Christ, where God is still speaking.
We know why you're awake. Your child is about to get their driver's license. Levante's Auto School offers 1-week driving programs to help make sure your child stays safe and focused behind the wheel.
Call 877-DRIVE-ED.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Learn to drive safely and efficiently. Visit one of our 5 locations throughout Massachusetts. Click Levante'sAutoSchool.com.
Levante's Auto School shows you how to learn the rules and keep your cool. Call 877-DRIVE-ED.
Who's Ed? That's the number for Levante's Auto School.
Hi, this is Brian Carpenter from One Worcester Homes. We're excited to offer the strongest buyer and seller representation throughout Worcester County and all the surrounding areas. Our agents are trained better and will look out for your best interests throughout the entire transaction. To reach out to One Worcester Homes, simply find us on Facebook, type in One Worcester Homes. We look forward to the opportunity to help you and your family in your home buying or selling transaction. And don't forget to join us the 4th Saturday of every month at 7:30 on Handling Change.
The United Church of Christ. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. The United Church of Christ, where God is still speaking.
Well, welcome back to Faith in America here on WCRN 830 AM. I am Reverend Peter Preble, your host and guide. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Faith in America Radio and over on Twitter at twitter.com/Faith in Radio. Of course, the website is Peter Preble, 1B, peterpreble.net/radio. Hopefully I won't have to say the 1B a bit after a while. But so we're going to get to our guest. I would like to welcome my guest, Father Joseph Grybowski. And since the show's only an hour long, I can't read all of his resume. So I'm just kind of hit the highlights here. It's like 7 pages long. I think yours is the resume that's longer than mine. But so Reverend Joseph Grybowski is a social entrepreneur whose innovative ideas have revolutionized thinking across a number of fields. In 1999, at the age of 24, he founded the Institute on Religion and Public Policy, a well-respected and world-renowned non-governmental organization at the forefront of religious freedom and advocacy. His extensive travels to over 140 countries in every corner of the map have allowed him to meet, interact with, and befriend leaders of business and industry, government, entertainment, advocacy, and other areas, giving him one of Washington's best and most sought-after Rolodexes. From confidence-building programs in Darfur to post-conflict reconstruction in Kosovo, from the Track 3 diplomacy efforts in North Korea and Iran to minority protection and reintegration in Iraq and Afghanistan, from authorizing countless laws for numerous countries to securing the successful release of hostages and prisoners, he's been at the forefront of some of the most crucial and sensitive issues in the world. He's authored over 50 articles and 2 recognized publications, and is the former chair of the U.S. State Department's Strategic Dialogue with Civil Society Working Group on Religion and Foreign Policy Subgroup on International Development and Humanitarian Assistance under Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In 2010, he was inducted into the International Board of Sponsors of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel at Morehead College. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Foreign Service and Master's degree of Arts and National Security Studies, both from Georgetown University. And he is an ordained priest in the Independent Old Catholic Church and was ordained in April of 2019. Lives in Alexandria, Virginia with his beautiful wife, Tracy, their dog, Eddie, and their cats, Theo, Charlie, and Bridgie. So, I need to take a breath now. But Father Joe, welcome to Faith in America. Thanks for coming on.
Father Peter, it's my pleasure. And as Lyndon Johnson would say, that is an introduction that my father would appreciate and my mother would believe.
It's something where we kind of put our lives on paper, right? And then it's like, did I really do all of that stuff?
I really haven't done anything, but it's adorable that you give me an intro that makes me think that I have.
Right.
So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
That's right. So we're here in this first part of the program where we're talking about the restoration of civility in our personal interactions, in our theological interactions, our political interactions, whatever it might be. And you have a lot of diplomatic experience and experience along those lines. So I'm going to start with the big question and just say, is it possible for us to get back to a place where we're able to have dialogue on difficult and sensitive topics that doesn't get down into the mud?
Yes and no. I'm as an ordained priest, I have to believe that the hope is eternal. But I'm also a Washington cynic. I've been here for a very long time. And so I come at this from 2 different perspectives. I have a very dear friend, one of Washington's most intelligent, capable, effective therapists, Dr. Ronnie Sadiq. And Ronnie posted something to Facebook yesterday where she said, what people miss now is empathy.
Mm.
And that's kind of where we are in this process, is everything is about me. It's not about anybody else. And so we've come to this concept where, philosophically we can argue that we're at the end of the Enlightenment and all of us are independent creatures, not a part of a social structure. But the reality is we are. And if we don't have empathy, if we don't have understanding, if we don't have compassion, then we are broken as a society.
That makes perfect sense. It's just that I still go back to the thing: can we sort of regain what we once had? And I know it's the yes and no kind of a question, and I think I agree with you along those lines that maybe we can, maybe we can't.
But Peter, the only way to have it is that we need leadership from the top that teaches us to do that. We need political, social, religious, and other leaders who say to us, it's not us versus them.
Mm.
It's us and us. And so we need that from our president. We need that from our senators. We need that from our congressmen. And I can actually point to the very moment where civility in Washington ended. And that was Newt Gingrich being the Speaker of the House. Speaker Gingrich said, you don't get reelected in Washington, you get reelected in your districts.
Mm.
And before that, Democrats and Republicans of the House and Senate would disagree on things philosophically, politically, in the well of their chambers, but they'd go and have a drink and they'd be friends and all that was fine. But when you stopped having that interaction, when you stopped having those engagements, your opponents became, they stopped being people and they became images. And we need to have that interaction again. We need our political leaders, our theological leaders, our social leaders to engage, not to point, not to argue, but to engage. And I think this is where shows like yours, work like the Washington National Cathedral, where they try to bring people together from differing worldviews and concepts, can get people to sit down for a second and say, hey, it's not an image, it's a person.
So, I would agree with you on that. I like to say, as part of it, and I said this in the opening commentary, is that this isn't a one-sided issue, right? It's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican, it's not an independent, it's not a progressive, or whatever you want to say, and it's not one side that got us here, right? We all got here together because there were those of us who were part of it, and then there were those of us who just went along with it.
Yep.
Right? And so we're all part of getting us there. None of our hands are clean in this, right?
That's
we're all at this moment, we're all sort of down in the mud, right? So none of our hands are clean in all of this. And so, like you said, it's going to take all of us to climb out of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it starts with that example at the top.
Well, and that's the thing that, voters have to recognize that they have responsibility for what happens in Washington. And very often people say, well, my vote doesn't count. Well, your vote does count. And It doesn't matter who you vote for. I'm not arguing, or endorsing one side over the other. All I'm saying is democracy requires action. It requires engagement. It requires involvement. But all of that means, and because democracy is not easy, democracy is a hard work.
Right.
It means people have to engage and educate themselves. And what that means is saying, I love Fox News. Fox News is great. It reinforces what I believe. But, maybe I should watch MSNBC to get another side of the perspective.
Sure.
And we have to get out of this comfort zone that we're all in. Left, right, center, everybody nowadays is in a comfort zone where I'm just going to watch what I like to watch. I'm just going to follow the people on social media that I like to follow because it reinforces what I believe.
Right.
We need to challenge ourselves, and that's where we're failing as a society. We're not challenging ourselves to find the better in who we are.
Well, because I think going along is easier, right? It's so to quote the great Michael Douglas, I think it was in the movie The American President, when he said, American citizenship is like advanced citizenship, right? Like you got to work at it, you got to want it. I should mention or remind people too that you have an opportunity on Tuesday here in Massachusetts, and I know where you are, Joe, in Virginia. It's Super Tuesday, right? So you have that chance coming up to exercise your vote, to exercise your advanced citizenship. I think we have a duty and a responsibility to get out there and tick the box, make the Chad not hang, whatever it is that we're going to do, draw the line, pull the lever, whatever it is you do, wherever you do it, you have to do it. We have to do this.
Well, and Father, it's more than just a responsibility. And this is where I get very frustrated by American democracy, because most American voters say, meh, my vote doesn't make a difference. Yes, it actually does. Every voter's vote makes a difference. And if it didn't, states wouldn't be trying to disenfranchise voters.
Right.
Because, they recognize that we don't want these people to vote because it might go a different way. And the fact is that we don't just have a responsibility. We have an oath when we become Americans. When we're born in it, when we're immigrated into it, we take an oath to do what is right and best for the country, and to defend the Constitution. And to not vote undermines the very concept of what it is to be an American.
So, Joe, we're going to stick a pin in that for a moment because we have to take a break. So you're listening to Faith in America here on WCRN Radio, 8:30 a.m., and we'll be right back with Father Joe Grybowski right here on Faith in America.
Also, if voting wasn't so important, I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and dawned on him. He goes, wait a minute, we have pet insurance. He turns to the president, Lisa, and he goes, I want a commercial. A pet insurance. And I'm like, Teddy, you get the commission on that one, buddy.
That is awesome.
Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. They found 1,583 dead people registered.
Oh, nice.
7,500 flagged duplicate voters, and 50 people registered to vote who were born in the 1800s.
It's possible.
Vitamins today, exercise.
Healthcare is what it is.
Did I just lost?
Yeah, I just lost something. I just lost it.
We lost our audio. Oh, okay.
It's never been easier. WCRN's Best in Business List. The best way to find the certified professionals you can count on when you need them most. Find reliable local professionals like Larry Dooley at Tux Trucks GMC in Hudson for all your trucks and plows. Del Greco Supply in Northborough for supplies and expert help in landscaping or masonry. Or get in shape at one of your local YMCA branches. The Y has so much to offer, from fitness to fun. See the complete Best in Business list at WCRNradio.com. From your full-service radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bud Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bud Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bud cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. Stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bud cakes, you haven't tried a real bud cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury. And on Facebook as well, Nothing Bud Cake Shrewsbury.
The United Church of Christ. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. The United Church of Christ, where God is still speaking.
Well, welcome back to Faith in America here on WCRN 830 AM. It's great to be here. You can follow us on Facebook at Faith in America Radio, and over on Twitter, twitter.com/faithinradio, and of course on the World Wide Web, peterpreble.net, 1B. /radio.
1B. You got to make sure you get that in there.
That's right. That's I think that's going to be my new logo.
Yeah,
1B.
1B Preble.
That'll be it. Just 1B. Because you'd be amazed at how many times people spell it. Well, it's because it sounds like it has two B's in it.
It could be a moniker, 1B Preble.
That's right.
Why isn't that your website? I'm just saying, 1B.com.
Yeah, I should have done that. Right.
I know, right?
Where
were you when this was being done?
But right now, there's someone listening who's registering 1B.com.
Right, yeah, me.
And then they're going to sell it to me for like $10,000.
That's right. That's right.
So we're speaking with Father Joe Grybowski here. We're talking about returning civility to our conversation, and I think we're off to a good start here. We just reminded people of their duty and responsibility to vote on Tuesday in the Super Tuesday primary elections here. Even on the, obviously there's a hard charging fight on the Democrat side, but even on the Republican side, there's people who are running that are below the top of the ticket, right? So there's other races that
down ticket.
That are down ticket. That's right. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
That are running that need your vote. So we need to go out there. So even if you think, well, the president has it all sewn up, I don't need to go out and vote. There's down ticket races that right. need you to go and tick the box there as well. But So just remember to get out there and vote on Tuesday. I think we make it so easy. I mean, early voting has already started.
Absentee.
So it's absentee voting. Show up on Tuesday. I think the polls are open from like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. in most places.
Yeah.
So there's really no...
It's even easy for someone else to vote for you.
That's right.
In your place.
Who was it that said...
Hold on.
Sorry, who was it that said vote early, vote often?
Vote early, vote. Wasn't that Curley?
I think it was.
It was James Michael Curley?
Of Boston, yeah.
Yeah, vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote often.
And that might have been said from his prison cell. I'm not sure.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, I thought it was from his casket.
From his casket. That's right.
That's right, because he voted for about 10 years after he was dead, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
They just kept dragging him out. Or somebody went in his place. Right. Somebody went in his place.
That's right.
Proxy voting. Proxy voting, yes. I spent my day proxy voting, yes.
Well, when Carter was president, it came up in Georgia that people, the family voted, like when Papa died, Granddad died, they'd vote for another 4 or 5 years because it was assumed that the family knew how he would have voted.
Right.
So they continued voting for him.
Right. You know, our elections aren't perfect, but it's better than the alternative, right? It's better than the alternative. So, but so let's get back to this discussion about civility. You know, I think it's you know, I said we all got here together. It's not one side that pulled us here. It's not the other side that pulled us here. We got here. We were all on the bus together, right? And I think the deeper we sink into the mud, the only thing that happens is that we just keep getting dirty. So there's got to be someone at some point who just starts climbing out. And I think, you know, this is where the church has a great opportunity here to sort of do this and kind of let's raise the bar a little bit. You know, there's always this tension, I think, between, you know, the separation of church and state, right? But it doesn't say anything about the separation of church and politics, right? So, and I think as a religious leader, and Joe, you're a religious leader, and, you know, I think we have an obligation to have our voice in the public square. And I think there's a line we can cross, and sometimes we skirt that line, and the line moves maybe a little bit. But what do you think of this notion that, you know, we as church leaders should be the ones who set the example and maybe try to start raising that bar a little bit higher?
Well, you know, Peter, I think you're absolutely right. And Pope Francis, God bless him, the poor guy's been sick since he was meeting with the victims of the coronavirus. But Pope Francis on Ash Wednesday said, we have to stop trolling. It's not about, you know, telling somebody else how wrong they are. It's not about, you know, using social media to beat down somebody else. We have to, if Lent really matters, we have to talk about what it means to engage, to be compassionate, and to love. And, you know, Francis makes a really good point that if we're talking about bringing civility back, it means bringing humanity back. And that's the solid point, because everything now is, well, they don't agree with me, so they're bad. Well, but that's not who we are as a society. That's not who we are as a people. It's, yeah, okay, I don't agree with them, but, you know, let's go have a beer.
Right. I'm always up to have a beer with anybody, really.
I don't care how much I disagree with you.
That's right.
You're buying, I'm there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, especially if you're buying.
And that's one of the many reasons we're friends. But again, the point comes back to, you know, we don't have to agree to have understanding.
Right. And
that's the bottom line. It's when did everybody else become the enemy?
Good point. Yeah. And so, you know, we're always kind of sneaking around looking for, you know, we're looking for the enemy, right? Where are they? And sometimes it's us, right? Sometimes we're the ones that are, you know, and how many times, I mean, I'll say it about myself. I've been in, and I think it's easy on social media, right? Because you're separated, you have this kind of wall of anonymity as much as you can, you know, and you get into a discussion with somebody and it starts to turn a little bit. I've done it, right? And I've gone back and deleted things because, well, I remembered who I was, right? And so, you know, we have this image that we have to protect. And so we're all guilty of this. It's not.
Yeah, and you hit on a very important point, which is with social media, we don't actually really kind of know the people we engage with. so we can set up these images of ourselves
Oh, sure.
that attack them and go after them. But the fact is that these are actually still people.
Right.
And they're still going through issues, and they're still dealing with things, and we don't know them most of the time. I mean, of all of our Facebook friends, both of you, all of our Facebook friends, how many of them are actual friends?
Right. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
And first of all, let me preface this by saying if I wasn't a public figure, if I didn't have radio shows, I probably would not have Facebook.
Sure.
Period.
Right.
So
That makes sense.
There's all of the, if you look at my administration on my Facebook, there's a lot of pages that I own or administer because of clients, because of the nature of my business. Then you have to have your personal page.
Sure.
So I look at that, and it's like 1,600 people, friends. But that's because people who have never met request it because of the public figure, and I accept it. But if I wasn't in that position, I'm not even sure I would have Facebook.
Right.
So and then I tried to keep the posting compartmentized so that if I'm posting a political thing, it goes on the political show. If I'm posting a dining thing, it goes on the dining show.
Sure.
You get the point. And very few things are anything I post on the personal page. It's mostly about Teddy, the puppy, right? It's innocuous. Like it's
Cat
not
videos.
not even. You know, I mean, if it's not Teddy, it doesn't get on. And Teddy even has his own. Teddy has his own page, Teddy Goodpup. So I mean, most of the animal stuff, right? Anything to do with animal cruelty, adopting goes on to Teddy Goodpup show. So but I find it amazing that people live. It's almost these virtual lives online.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And they can. Create a facade and be whatever it is they want to project out there. Sure. And
I've done that.
They're in their underwear in the basement. We got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shifted.
400-pound guy in the basement.
Right. I've
Careful.
shifted a lot of my activism, if you will, both religious and political, from my personal page where I interact with family and people I know to my professional page, right? Because I was getting into arguments with family, right? And I mean, this is like we're breaking up families now over this stuff, right? It's important stuff, don't get me wrong, but is it worth sacrificing your family for? No, right? Because let's be honest, there's not a lot of change we're going to force in some other place, right? We're only responsible for our own sphere, right? But let's get back to the humanity piece for a minute, because I like to remind people, not to get all theological here for a minute, but my faith teaches me that we are individually created in the image and likeness of God, right? And that as a Christian, I believe that we should be able to look at another person, whoever that person is, and be able to see Christ in them, because that's the divine spark that exists in the other person. And if we can do that, then I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to remind ourselves that, that's another human being with feelings and thoughts and family and mothers who love them and, all of this other stuff, which I think is separated when we're in the anonymity of the social media. I love social media, don't get me wrong. I think it's an excellent tool, but I think it can also be used, for the bad stuff too, as well as the good stuff.
Right. Well, and Peter, you touch on something very important, which is the humanity of recognizing the divine in the other. And social media gives us an anonymity, as you said, that says, meh, they don't really matter. They're not really a thing. We're just engaging online.
Right.
And this is where I think we have a really big problem as a society, that we forget that behind the social media, behind the Twitter account, behind all the rest of it, there's still a person that has weaknesses, that has concerns, that has faith, that actually exists outside of what exists in the comment section. And the comment section is what gets me on things. People will comment on anything without any understanding of where that person is, where that person exists, what issues they're dealing with, because it's all anonymous and because there's no engagement.
Right.
And this is where I come back to what Dr. Sadiq had said. We as a society lack empathy.
Yeah, because we've separated ourselves from the whole thing. All right, we have to go into another break. We got to pay some bills here, so we got to.
Not yet. So if you want to advertise, contact Cameo Media. Yeah.
That's right. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Faith in America Radio on WCRN 830 AM.
So, are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system, and get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger-looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com, and like me, you'll be glad you did.
Hi, this is Brian Carpenter from One Worcester Homes. We're excited to offer the strongest buyer and seller representation throughout Worcester County and all the surrounding areas. Our agents are trained better and will look out for your best interests throughout the entire transaction. To reach out to One Worcester Homes, simply find us on Facebook, type in One Worcester Homes. We look forward to the opportunity to help you and your family in your home buying or selling transaction. And don't forget to join us the fourth Saturday of every month at 7:30 on Handling Change.
The United Church of Christ. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. The United Church of Christ, where God is still speaking.
Welcome back to Faith in America here on WCRN 830 AM and WACE 730 AM. We're here every Sunday morning at 6, right here, brand new show. This is the launching, the inaugural edition, I guess you could say, right? The inaugural edition here on Faith in America.
I didn't put that on Facebook because I didn't know how to spell inaugural.
We're going to get along famously here because that's
I promise. This is the biggest outturn you ever had.
Yeah, right.
No question.
Right. It's like sometimes you have to do these mental gymnastics, right, to find an actual word that you can spell to replace what you want to say.
No,
so you end up writing 700 more words to explain yourself because you can't use the
set it up.
Right.
No, thank goodness for Grammarly and spell check and all that.
Word, yes.
It just, you know, and when the computer's smarter than you are, it's humbling.
I always laugh. Yeah, I use Grammarly, so I there's different ways to preach, but I'm a manuscript preacher, so I write my sermon out and then I run it through Grammarly, and sometimes it'll come up and we'll say monotonous sentence or something. I'm like, well, that's just rude.
Exactly. Who asked you?
Right. Or it wants me to change the punctuation.
I just wanted you to check my grammar.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Or it wants you to change the grammar in a biblical passage. I'm like, I'm not touching that one.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
exactly.
No, I'm not.
Stay in your lane.
That's right. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Grammarly, that's all you. I'm not running up against that one. I'm leaving that one totally alone. So
that's right.
So here in our last segment, I thought we could touch a little bit on the season of Lent. We are, after all, entered into this season on the Christian calendar. Anyways, Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, and we entered into this season of Lent. So we go through this whole thing about giving stuff up, right? We're going to give up chocolate, we're going to give up meat, we're going to give up these different things, and but the idea behind all of that is that we're different people when it's all over. That there's a change that takes place in us, sort of spiritually, and so. We're asking Father Joe to do a little bit of double duty to not only talk about the stuff we talked about in the first part, but now we're going to shift gears into the more religious side of things. So we're going to talk about Lent a little bit. So if you want to share sort of personally, what do you do differently during this time of year that you don't do the rest of the year?
Actually, I'm gonna come back to that question in just a second and say that there's not a big difference between the first conversation and this one. Because if we want to make things better, Lent is the time to do it. And so as we talked about where our personal weaknesses, our political weaknesses, our whatever weaknesses, Lent is the time when we have to look back and say, wait, what did we do wrong? And so it's not necessarily, and I love, and God bless all the people who give things up, but we're not necessarily called to give things up. We're called to be better during Lent.
I like that.
And so it's not necessarily a question of, well, I'm not going to have any chocolate because, Jesus cares about that. It's a question of, how do I use this time to make myself the best version of me?
That's I like that. That's a really good point.
I always thought Lent was about giving up a bad trait, not things like chocolate. I always thought it was like giving up jumping to conclusions, giving up arguing, or giving up judging somebody. I always thought that's what Lent was supposed to be about. And I'm not the religious one here. You've got a father and a reverend. I'm a humble doctor. I don't have any of this.
But so often we're told we have to give something up.
Right.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fine. But you have to give something up if it's going to make you better. And so where is it that we can adjust ourselves? And so it doesn't necessarily mean giving something up in a physical sense, like chocolate or beer. And by the way, there's a feast day every day of Lent, and the church calls us to celebrate the saints. So I'm not giving up beer. But where are we called to be the better versions of ourselves?
Right.
And that's really what Lent calls us to be as we approach, the Christian understanding of the resurrection and our salvation.
So following along that line, and you had mentioned Pope Francis earlier, he put something on, this might have been last year, but I came across it this year, and he said, do you want to fast this Lent? And so then he gives you some suggestions. Fast from hurting words and say kind words. Fast from sadness and be filled with gratitude. Fast from pessimism and be filled with hope. Fast from worries and trust in God. Fast from pressures and be prayerful. Fast from bitterness and fill your heart with joy. Fast from selfishness and be compassionate to others. Fast from grudges and be reconciled. Fast from words and be silent so you can listen. I think those are profound things, because that, I think, goes into what you were saying about being your better self.
Well, and this is what I like about Francis. Francis is one of the few people in a global leadership role who looks at us and says, yeah, we're not really good. And he gets us at our very most basic elements. And what he's calling us to in Lent is, and we talked about this in the last segment about social media. We all have that anonymity. We all have that capacity to tear someone down, to troll someone, to tweet that we're the best thing that ever happened. But what Francis is saying is maybe take a second to look back at who you actually are. And that's where I understand Lent. And it's possible I'll be excommunicated for this radio show, so thanks, Peter.
I do what I can.
yeah. So thanks for that. But I look at Lent and I think Lent's not a communal thing. It's not even a church social thing. It is our immediate conversation with God about, well, who are we? And who should we be?
Right.
And what are we doing to make ourselves, as Lincoln would say, the better versions of ourselves? Let's not even include Christ in this. Let's just include Lincoln. Who are we?
Right.
Being the better versions of ourselves.
Right. I think that's so important, and I think you're right. I think these two conversations do tie in. When we talked about this, we were putting this together, I didn't even see that connection, but you're absolutely right that this is the perfect time for us to say, whoa, let's put the brakes on. And, I'm not saying you should fast from social media. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying maybe fast from clicking that button so fast, or, and I had somebody recently tell me how irked they get by listening to a certain political figure. We won't mention who, but a certain political figure. I said, then change the channel. Right. Just stop listening. That person's not making you mad. You're allowing yourself to be mad because of something that you heard. We are in control of what we consume. Right?
And Father Peter, what you said is fundamentally important, and we forget that. We are in control. Mm-hmm. And so people react, they respond, they tweet, they Facebook. But the reality is it's not that reaction is your control. You cannot do that. Right. You cannot say bad things. You cannot tweet bad things. You can look back and by the way, I have a very dear friend who said something to me 25 years ago that has stuck with me ever since. And she looked at me and she said, every morning I have to look myself in the mirror when I brush my teeth. Is what I did the day before something I could look myself in the mirror over? And we as Christians, not to get overly theological about this, but we as Christians have to ask ourselves, can we look ourselves in the mirrors over what we do and what we support? And when we talk about Lent, can we not recognize now that maybe we didn't make the best choices? And maybe can we find through these 40 days the redemption that we're led to, the redemption that we're called to, the redemption that we're kind of, supposed to find by looking not at the outside, but by looking at the inside.
And isn't that the whole point of what we're doing? Isn't that should be the outcome of the 40 days, right? Because it's all about, the event that takes place at the end is all about forgiveness, redemption, reconciliation, and finally salvation. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. The journey leads us to that point. And we need to throw ourselves into it fully in order to do that.
But you said throwing ourselves into it fully. I'm a firm believer, and again, I'm going to get excommunicated. I'm a firm believer that unless we accept our own responsibility, that salvation point at the end really doesn't apply. Because if we haven't accepted everything we've done wrong, then it's not a high school hall pass.
Right.
We have to own what we've done wrong. We have to own what we've sinned, what we've caused. And if we don't, and by the way, that's not just personal, that's social, because the scriptures tell us you got to do acts, not just faith. If we don't do all these things, is Lent repentative or is it repetitive?
Right. That's going to have to be the last word, I think, because we're coming. It's hard to believe
that worked out for you there, Father.
Hour
you get the last word.
I know. Well, I'm always going to get the last word. I always tell people that in church. I have the microphone. I'm going to have the last word. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're going to be here every Sunday morning at 6 with some really exciting guests. Next week, my guest is going to be the Reverend Kent Salati, who's the Bridge Conference Minister for Justice and Finance teams of the Southern New England Conference, United Church of Christ. And he'll be with us to discuss a great new program that the conference has started that's going to help folks climb out from underneath their medical debt. It's called Rest in Peace Medical Debt. It's all sponsored by nonprofits. It's a great program that's been working across the country, and we're bringing it here to New England. So you're not going to want to miss this program because I think it's going to be good. Not that today wasn't great, because today was. We launched off. We set the bar high.
I was just going to say, let me tell you, I've launched a lot of radio shows in my day, and your debut show has been a fantastic first show.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's great. And, get us over there on the social media, Faith in America Radio, Facebook, and Faith in Radio on Twitter. Thanks.
Thank you, Father.
The
preceding program has been a Cameo Media production. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of this station, Cameo Media, the hosts, or guests. Inquiries and input may be directed to cameomedia.net. Email at info@cameo@gmail.com or 508-556-4411.
Welcome to the Church of Total Acceptance. If you're a divorced single parent, press